time is 6:30. Sean will be here at some point, but he has a Board of Regents meeting going on as well, so he asked me to just go ahead and get started. So we will get started with the meeting. Do we have any guests that filled out any?
We have not.
Okay. So we have an amendment to the agenda, and how we'll do that is we will approve the agenda first, and then move to amend the existing agenda. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion we approve the agenda.
A second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. All those opposed? Okay.
Oh,
But, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I don't have to hunt through and try to figure out what was the change? I didn't see.
Yeah, I was gonna add that. So, the two things that we need to amend are 9.5 and 9.8.
No,
So-
9.7, 9.8.
9.7, 9.8.
Oh, okay. So 9.7 and 9.8 weren't on here, so that would be approve AMI plan and approval of date and time for tax rate hearing.
What was that, which ones again?
9.7 and 9.8.
Okay, nice.
Do we know, had anyone heard anything from Jamie?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll keep going. Do I have a motion, or I guess, do I have a motion to amend the agenda to include action items 9.7, which is approve AMI plan, and 9.8, approval of date and time for tax rate hearing?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the agenda to add 9.7 and 9.8.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Open forum.
We did not have anyone that signed up to
Okay.
speak.
Approval of consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the last month's regular open session minutes?
I make a motion we approve the consent of the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Oh, okay. So you got 4 yes and 1 abstain. Okay. Approval of transfers and payment of bills. Does anyone have any questions about the bills?
Yeah, I had a couple.
Okay.
The extra duty speeches for $1,000.
Say that again.
The extra duty speeches for $1,000.
Extra duty speech
Yeah, speech.
is the stipend for speech.
Oh, for like
Yes.
the program?
Yes.
Okay. I just, it sounded kind of like I was giving a speech or something out there.
That would be horrible.
All right, I know the descriptions, there's not a lot of room, so.
Gotcha. Yeah,
All right,
Chelsea.
Couple other questions I had.
Yep.
Osage View 2200 for prom.
Yep.
What all does that include? That's a lot of money.
That's the event venue as it was that evening. I'm not sure what every single detail, but that's the event
Food
venue.
or anything like that, you know?
What's that?
Food or anything like that?
I don't know if we paid
We did
extra
not.
for food.
We did
Yeah, didn't-
food separately,
didn't-
yes.
Wow, a lot of money. That was a nice place, but a lot of money. Also, there's several places I saw on several pages where it just says it's for payroll, and it just says salaries. There's no description, I know you can't put names or anything, but there's no description of what they are. Several $8,000 ones, so I'm guessing that is, you're paying somebody their salary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but there's no description on about several of them.
Well, So we talked about that a little bit today. We can add some general descriptors to
I saw
that.
most of them had general descriptions on them, and that's fine, but it would be kind of nice to know what we're signing off on for that.
Sure. We'll adjust it so it's a little bit more descriptive than just salaries. We'll see if I can, because say for instance, right now, every one of those payroll expenditures, like you might see my salary coded 2 or 3 different places. You'll see it coded in the admin or executive administration, which I think is the one that you asked about first. But then we get reimbursed a certain amount because I am the, air quotes here, the transportation director. And I think there'll be the ESEA administrator. We can claim a percentage of my salary for that. But if we would ever have any other administrator that would fall in there, we were discussing this earlier, we wouldn't want to call it superintendent salary because it
Right.
could be any administrative salary.
Right.
So we were thinking maybe CO, central office admin salary
Something like that
would
make
help you.
sense. Yeah, I had, 8, 12, 23, 24. I was going through several places where it just had 8,000 here, 8,000 there, 8,000, 8,000, no description whatsoever.
Gotcha.
So that'd be great. One last thing I had, and then I'll be quiet, is on I probably missed this, but it's Dakin?
Daikin. Those are the elementary HVAC.
That's HVAC guys,
units.
okay, that's what I thought that's what it was. Okay, I had a lot, 15,000, so I was like, I didn't remember.
Yeah,
What they did, but I thought I remembered the name.
we had another, now they're all under warranty right now, so since we started with these issues and we replaced the valving 4 years ago, we have replaced every single compressor in every unit there. Having said that, we just had another compressor fail, so part of that will be covered and we'll get reimbursed for that under the warranty. But we're still having issues with that Daikin system. It's always a big ticket up.
That's all I had.
Is that the same system we're putting in the new school?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion to approve, transfer and payment of bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion passes. 6.1, teacher and staff recognition. Do we know what that, I don't know what that is.
Bob? Nope, just one.
Teacher and staff recognition.
Oh, just announcing the Teacher of the Year and the Staff Member of the Year. We ran a process at the campus level, where our staff actually voted on the Teacher and Staff Member of the Year. And this year, our 2 award winners on the certified side was Miss Joyce Hafner, which was great, her exiting after nearly 40 years. And then Miss Teresa out of the elementary office won the Staff Member of the Year. So we've already added their names to the plaque that are in the central office there, and we'll continue that tradition and forward Ms. Hafner on to the state as our candidate for Teacher of the Year at the regional and state level.
Awesome. Reports, high school, middle school report.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy that we've already been out of school for a month. It seems like it was just yesterday that we got out of school, but yet summer is flying by, so we're gonna be back in session before we know it. So I did kind of an overview of the whole school year as well as kind of the last month of school. I put both of our sets of enrollment numbers, the beginning and the ending enrollment. We've actually stayed pretty steady each month this last semester, but if you look at the numbers from the beginning of the school year, we're actually up 8 students at the middle school and high school levels since the beginning of the school year. So we're heading in the right direction. Get more kiddos in here, we love it. With our culture, of course, the last month of school is just full of celebrations and excitement. We had map reward parties for some of our middle school students. Of course, we had graduation, which was a great event. We had so many graduates, whether it was middle school, high school, just a lot of excitement at the end of the school year. We are looking ahead to next year. We're gonna aim to continue trying to foster that positivity, that culture, really focus on that next year. We're gonna use some of our Wildcat time because we found that some of our students, they do need that Wildcat time for study hall, to get their homework done, those kind of things. But we also find that by Friday, their homework's done, they're climbing the walls sometimes. So we're gonna do some social emotional stuff on those Fridays. We're also gonna do some team building and some fun activities in the gym with some of those students that are doing well in the classroom, good behavior, those kind of things. Just to try to get some more excitement going on in school. We're gonna also really focus on that with our staff as well. So hopefully next year we're gonna plan some fun and exciting things for them just to keep everybody going and excited throughout the school year. So you are gonna see an addition to our lunch cards this next school year. So there is a new bill policy from the state of Missouri and nationally that all lunch cards of students grades 7 all the way up through college are gonna have the local non-emergency numbers for our police department. So all our 7th graders through 12th grade on the back of their lunch card, it's gonna have Lynn PD and Osage County. The reason that they're doing that push is so that if students are in crisis, especially with all the mental health that we're dealing with right now, these students have somebody that they have right on their lunch card to call if they need help. So if you see those numbers on the back of the lunch cards, that's the reason that they're there. So with our procedures, summer school is underway, almost done. The one thing that we did offer this last year was a health and a PE class to get some of our students a little bit ahead if they wanted to take some dual credit classes later on in their high school career. Nobody wanted to take it, which totally understand. A lot of kids want to go enjoy their summer. We do have quite a few A+ tutors, so a lot of students utilize that summer school time to get their A+ hours out of the way, so that's a good thing. Looking at our procedures for lunchtime next year, Kelly and I are working really hard because the food is so good. We want to make sure the kids have time to eat. With 2 lunch shifts, it's kind of crunching it for Kelly, crunching it for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to spread the students out. We're going to spread it out to 3 lunch shifts. In that same time, we can still do that. We're going to have 5 minutes less of lunch shift, but less students to get through the line. So we're hoping that's going to give the students a little bit more time to get through the line and have time to eat because the food is so good. So we want to make sure that they have that there. So looking at instruction, we do still have a math and a high school math and a middle school social studies position open. We did have an applicant apply today for one of those positions, so I'm going to check that out next week. I do have some things working in the background here and some ideas on how to fill those positions and make sure that we have quality people so that our students aren't losing that quality instruction. So I've got some plans going on. I'm hoping to have that finalized by the end of June so that whoever's coming in has time to plan for the school year. Looking at our evaluate data, you have that attached there in the document. This is the assessments we give our students each month just to see if they're growing. Looking at that data, our teachers actually meet once a month and we look at that data, see what they can glean from that and what they can use to drive their instruction in the classroom. I'm very impressed with how hard our teachers have worked this year. The conversations in those meetings it's been phenomenal. And just what they're taking back to their classroom and trying to do for their students. So I'm really, really proud of them for the work that they're doing there. Mathematics was a key worry that we had January, February. Those teachers worked really hard these last few months. We've had some extra meetings with our math department. And if you look at those scores, almost all of them are proficient in all those areas. So I'm really, really impressed with our math teachers, how hard they work trying to get those scores up for our kiddos. English grew steadily throughout the school year. It's not quite to that proficient where I want it to be yet, so that's gonna be something at the very beginning of next school year. I wanna start looking at those English evaluate scores and say, okay, where did we fall short this last school year? What can we do better this next year to help get those kids up where they are? The good thing is whenever our MAP scores come in, a lot of times our evaluate scores are actually lower than our MAP scores. So it shows that the evaluate's a little bit more rigorous, so we should hopefully still do well on our MAP scores when they come in. So then when you look at, I put our goals for the school year and just kind of go over how we did for those because Bob wanted to make sure that we had a good summary of the school year in here. Our first one was the teacher creates a positive learning environment. Our staff does that on a daily basis. They impress me on how hard they work for our students. If they have a student that wants to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and work on math because they didn't understand it, they're there and they're ready to help them. So creating a positive learning environment, our teachers do a phenomenal job making sure that it's a positive environment for our kiddos. The teachers use instructional strategies to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. We have found that this is an area that we want to improve, especially with our ACT. We found that some of our courses don't have that rigorous thinking, and then once they go to take that ACT, they haven't had that practice, and when they see some of those critical thinking questions, they're not doing as well on those. Some of our teachers have grabbed on and they've changed some of their assessments to where a lot of those questions, instead of at a level 1, they're more at a level 4 now. So some of those teachers grabbed on. I really want to look at that ACT type question this year. Beginning of school, whenever we start our PD, that's what we're going to look at is ACT. How can we put that into our classes so that the students get more practice with that? So we're going to work on that again next year. The teacher employs cooperative learning strategies. That's just getting kids engaged. We want to make sure that the students are engaged, and with cell phones nowadays and computers and technology, it gets harder and harder because they are entertained by that cell phone or technology. They don't want to sit there and listen to you in a classroom. So our goal is to make sure that those students are staying engaged. We have things that keep them learning the whole time that they're in the classroom. Some teachers have grabbed onto that. Others, we're going to work on some more of that for this next school year as well. And the teachers use the assessment data to improve instruction. They're doing a phenomenal job. We are meeting once a month. They're talking about that data and using it in their classrooms. So we've had a lot of great things go on this last school year, but we still have growing we want to do. So we have a lot we're going to work on for next year as well. So does anybody have any questions? No, I threw a lot at you.
So going back up to the top, so
Yes.
that I understand the enrollment numbers that you put in here better. So what are the beginning of your enrollment numbers that you have in here? Is that beginning of 24, 25?
Yes,
or-
yep, that would be the
okay.
beginning of this last school year. That's where we were at the beginning of the school year.
Okay. so
And then
we-
the top ones, those are our ending numbers as of May.
Okay.
We have a pretty small graduating class come out also, and
Yes, we
an
only have 48.
average size class, so we'll actually see the numbers jump quite a bit from this year to next year, just as a matter of our 8th graders moving up. Is that accurate?
Exactly. And most of our classes this year, or this coming up school year from 6th grade to 12th, they average about 50 students. Our 7th grade is smaller with around 35, but the rest are right around 50. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Minix.
All right. I am going to try to keep it as short as possible. I know he sent you 9 pages worth of information. But I just wanted to very quickly highlight our spring sports. Track, their participation numbers were significantly up. They had 66 kids between middle school and high school, so that's 6th grade all the way through 12th grade. And this year, we also included St. George at the middle school level, which was fantastic. Couple of great highlights. We competed in 8 different events at sectionals. Unfortunately, we did not come out of sectionals, but all of those kids were super young. They were all freshmen and sophomores, and so that's very exciting for the future. And then obviously, I know we kind of put this out everywhere, but I think it's worthy to note here, our 4x2 relay team broke the state record, our school record, sorry, not the state record, our school record. Which was great, especially considering that the last leg our kid got injured and still beat it by almost 2 seconds. And so that's very exciting for the future. Again, all those kids are freshmen and sophomores, so.
I should have asked this earlier. Any idea where that time would have put us at state? I'm just curious if we could have made it out.
I think we would have been competitive at sectionals, absolutely. Because we had to obviously sub in for that kid, and it added about 6 seconds, and we were close to last, right? I mean, at that point, so it's hard to tell. I felt like sectionals this year was very competitive. I mean, it was wild to see like how fast some of these kids were. And so that was kind of the talk of some of the other ADs when we were there. This is the most competitive sectionals that we've had since I've been here, right? And so, but I think we would have been competitive at sectionals. I don't know if we would have made it to state with that. Okay, golf. I think I think there was a lot of progress made. Same thing. Our freshmen and sophomores, I think, they're going to be fun to watch over the next couple of years. Juniors and seniors obviously are going to be great as well, but it was just really a lot of fun to see them get after it this year. Baseball, we had the best record that we've had since I've been here. We finished 10-17, made it to the district semifinal game. That was a heartbreaker. We almost got run ruled. Then we had Jax Kubiak, freshman, hit a grand slam, bring us back into the game. And then unfortunately, our kind of momentum died, and we were down by 2 going into the 6th, and then they got run ruled in the 6th. So, but again, bright future, and that, I think that program's gonna be a lot of fun to watch over the coming years. I then just gave you kind of a breakdown of our postseason awards. Our kids did great. You can kind of see the spread there. I won't go through the numbers, but you can see which programs, which postseason awards they received, as well as how that was broken down by each program. And so, a lot of success this year in that. I put in some of the more notable awards that our athletes won this year. I then put in the President's Cup. That's a new thing this year with our new conference that we joined. We were in second place for most of the season, most of the year, and then just right at the end in the fall, we kind of got pushed back. We ended up 4th out of 8, tied with New Bloomfield. Harrisburg kind of came out of nowhere and won the thing. But I think that's a fun thing that we can, continue to push for and, just compete at the highest level within our conference. And so that just kind of gave you an idea of what that point system looks like.
Is that all sports combined?
All sports, yep. So what really hurts us, well, not really hurts us, but when we don't have a program, we don't get any of those points. And so be something to try to look for and continue to build on. But we did very well in the fall and in the winter. Summer, we are higher than we've ever been with student participation. We went up 21 students from last year. We had 98, and then we've actually had about 5 or 6 more put in all of the paperwork to participate this summer. We have, we have lots and lots of opportunities for kids to do things over the summer. And so there, I just kind of gave a breakdown of what each program is doing over the summer and what the average of participation looks like for each one of the programs. Coaches supplied me with all that information, but it's great. It's a great feeling to know our kids are active all summer long in a lot of different programs. Last year, I provided you with a GPA document. That's something that I know when I came on board was something that the board was concerned with and just wanted to have a report with. Happy to say that our kids that are involved in activities are still outperforming all other populations, right? And so that's great. There are a couple of programs, and I made some notes for you in that GPA document to keep watching. I also put out some reflective questions to all of our coaches to review that, and so I sent all that information to them. I also asked them to do 3 things, right? One, to obviously look at it and kind of analyze where their programs are, because that document not only shows when they're in season, but when they're out of season as well. And so what are they doing to help progress our kids academically, because that's something that we should be doing. Obviously, we should be celebrating when we should be celebrating, but then also, what is your action plan? And so I asked them just to come up with a couple of targeted items that they can introduce into their programs to go into next year. And so I left that in some files for who's replacing me, but I just wanted to make sure that I showed you guys that too. We had 53 of our athletes get academic all-state. And so I just kind of gave you a breakdown of what that looked like in each program. That's great. That's an incredible honor, and so hopefully we continue to do that. And then the next part, I put in our participation numbers, because obviously that's something I'm always watching for and making sure that we have kids that are participating in our opportunities. And so we had a slight dip this year, but we also had more kids doing more things, right? So like participating in more of our programs. And so even with the slight dip that we had, we were still in the top 8 of all time, or at least as far back as 2007. And so, it shows that we have a community and a culture in our program and our department that kids want to be a part of what we're doing. And so, very exciting there. Again, I provided that document for you as well as my breakdown. And then I just wanted to say thank you. You didn't have to take the the chance with me 3 years ago, and I really appreciate you doing that. Hopefully I've left it in a better place. We're in there, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Stole my words from you.
I think I would be speaking for many people when I say that, I hate that we're losing you, but I completely understand why, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chris. Other than outside of my report there, that's all for you to read. A couple things I wanted to add to the culture, climate, and relationships that didn't quite make it to the bullets, but I think it's important. We've been discussing with Lynn Police Department, and we'll probably enter in, unless there's an objection to us, or through them, assigning a DARE officer to the school to work with us. Sheriff's Department's done a great job at the county level at engaging with our kids and our staff, and Lynn Police Department's looking to do that initially through a DARE officer. So we will enter into a memorandum of understanding with them, and we'll begin that program and see what it looks like through this summer planning as we start next year. We also, summer school's about to end, so I want to make a shout out to our elementary PTO, Matt McCoy, because they're going to begin partnering with us to rip out the current elementary playground up top, and we will, as part of our bond projects, and we're going to make that money stretch further because of what those PTO dads are doing, which is a large part and the lion's share of the labor into constructing that playground. So that'll happen here very quickly because tomorrow's the last day of summer school. So we're excited to partner with them. Staffing, we're going to have quite a few hires here in closed session, so our board will, a lot of that will be erased after you guys approve a few new hires. 2 major vacancies, math at the high school and social studies at the middle school. We actually have 3 options brewing for math at the high school. 1 includes an applicant that's experienced we got today. We also have another opportunity with a rehire that has an outstanding reputation. And then we have another option where we might do a little moving around, but it's our least positive option in that we don't know for certain that we would end up with somebody at the middle school level that was fully certified. With math being as important it is, we're going to look to stretch on those other 2 options to make sure that we get one of those. And same with the social studies at the middle school, but we have a couple options there, but nothing that I'm excited to bring to you at this point about. But I do believe we'll have a high school certified math teacher in that position. Professional development wise, June Exchange Day training and planning is going on. July we'll deploy that training. Summer conferences. We have a lot of new legislation and a lot of movement at the Capitol. I'm going to be sitting in a lot of legal seminars and legislation updates through this summer. It's probably be a good idea so I can chunk it for you to give you some summaries as I do those, as opposed to waiting until a board meeting to do that, especially if you guys decide to skip July. That'd be too long, so look for that in your email. Facilities, we got a lot going on. You can see the block coming up. They'll pour probably about end of July, beginning of August. First week we'll have steel come in and we'll start to get a roof on that thing. Probably pouring concrete here in about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. We'll be starting the portions of this parking lot, and we haven't completely decided that yet. I do want to let you know that that center part that's now grass, we had talked about making that gravel at one point. If we just pour a curb in there and a couple of curb breaks, we can actually eliminate about $35,000 in wheel stops, and we'll kind of have a sidewalk that goes down the middle that doesn't need to be weeded or anything like that. So that's a change order that we'll be exercising. Floor in the existing will go down probably here in about 2 weeks. Need to get it through design, make sure it matches what we approved. We do have a new project manager and site superintendent that have come on board. I've met both of them, spent a lot of time with our new site superintendent. His name is Jeff Hoppy. Great guy. I think we had a major improvement there. Very happy with that. Going through planning there at the field house, I know we approved the alternate for train for control consistency. The way that the specs were on that unit, though, train specifically in itself doesn't have a unit that meets that exact spec. They've offered up an alternative through Aon, or an Aon type unit, so we're working through whether or not that's as good of a deal for us in the same value as the train unit. I'll keep you up to date as we go through those.
Just two different brands.
Two different brands. Train sells Aon.
Okay.
And so, I'll tell you, here's where I kind of had a bit of a rub. When I say we're going with the train unit, I think that it's gonna have train on the outside of it. It'll be manufactured by train, not sold by train, because that's very different. If I went down to Butler and said, I'd like a Chevy truck, because that's what they sell, and they said, well, at that price point, we're gonna give you this other truck that's some other brand, because we sell those too. Well, I kind of went through a Chevy house to get Chevy. And so I think we'll find a solution that's good for the district at the same or reduced cost. Summer maintenance schedule is a bit complicated because of construction and using different areas of the building, but Cliff is doing a good job of managing and organizing that and getting ahead on some projects on the exterior of the building, so that by the time summer school exit, we'll be able to work on the interior. Christy, you did a great job with the report. Can't thank you enough. Budget and finance, we'll talk about that quite a bit more here in a few minutes. We'll actually have a funding balance just a hair north of 30%. 31.9 as of today, but we have some miscellaneous revenues that we will receive between now and the 30th that I think that 32.7, we're gonna be almost right on top of it. Which, that's good news. They did inform us at the beginning of the week that they will not be paying $67.60. It'll be $67.50. So really close to what they promised us, but they did not fully fund the formula. We have applied for an SRSA grant, the Small Rural Schools grant. That is not in the budget, but that's $38,000 and about 0.56 of a fund balance point that we would go up if that's approved and we actually receive it. I have every reason to believe that, but until they approve it, I don't want to put it in the budget and mislead you at all. What else have I got here? I did want to take note of this, the document that we use and that PDF format that you got that budget in, there's a much more user-friendly tool that's been developed. Dr. Genowine at Russellville has led the charge on developing that. It's much more user-friendly. I think you guys will like it a lot better, much easier to track, and I think it'll be a good exercise. So how many, does anybody recall? I think our budget, just that one tab, was 28 pages. Does that sound right? Well, there's like 8 tabs in there. It's a lot. There's a lot in there. With that being a product and a tool that was in place when I got here, there's a lot of underlying things that I know they work, but I don't know that I've gone through every cell and do that. What I'm gonna do here through the rest of this month in July is actually go through every cell and translate that, transfer that to a document that I think you guys will metabolize better and will give me just a thorough time. Like I think we were talking about earlier, just it being more transparent, easier to read, and maybe being intuitive. I think this new budget worksheet is that. And so I'm looking forward to going through that. It is gonna be tedious, but I think I'll have an even better understanding of the minutia in our budget as I go through that and see what the underlying formulas are and really how that worked. It's kind of like taking it apart to figure out how it worked. I think there'll be some learning in there. Any questions? Anything you'd like me to expand on?
I was gonna ask, I guess, the construction timeline has, I mean, we've had a lot of rain for the last month. Do they indicate that that's slowed them down at all, or?
Technically, we're about 10 days behind,
Okay.
but we've got a lot of built-in slack, to be honest. It will not change our substantial completion date whatsoever. If we get a string of fairly good weather, we can make that time up fairly quickly. So I don't think we'll be off in the long haul at all.
Okay.
Mr. James, did you get any indication about how long the grant, the state is going to last for the salaries?
They approve it year by year. And so it is approved so far and in the budget package. And I do believe, and others believe, that it will be signed and we'll have it this coming year. However, I am not alone in believing that it will go away in the 26-27 school year, along with a lot of other grants that we typically get and other schools get.
That's
And
great.
30% plus won't last very long.
No, it won't, and that's a great point. One of the new elements in this new budget tool is it allows you to decompress your schedule, and it'll be something that we have to talk about eventually. Let's just say that that happens before some other revenue source is discovered, or operating lever, whatever you want to call it. That budget tool will allow us to adjust our vertical steps and our horizontal steps so that we can decompress our schedule and move it up to 40 by very minute adjustments between years. And so it might, right now we have a $500 step. We might be able to decompress at 40 but reduce our step to and meet the law, letter of the law, if we had a $150 step. Now, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to our staff at all. But it is one way we could decompress without any money. Now, unfortunately, we would be incredibly uncompetitive in the labor market if we start paying you $150 more a year for an entire year of experience. So I don't want to do that. But that is one element of the new tool that we can play with a little bit to see. And honestly, before we did anything like that, I'd probably bring in a salary committee of teachers and ask them what they wanted. Tell them what the rules of the game are, and we would begin playing with that tool to figure out. I hope we're not in that position. I will say, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on in the budget, our budget is fairly balanced. If we end at 32.7, and without looking at it, we'll still end next year with like 31, I'm guessing there. I wrote it in the report, but, well, that's a pretty balanced budget. That means about as much as we had to start, we finish with. Well, that means we can't put $400,000 in a minimum base salary jump to 40,000 without going significantly backwards in our fund balance. And within 5 years, it will no longer be a $40,000 minimum base salary. It'll be $45,020 and almost $750,000 more in salaries that we'll be on the hook for at that time than we are today. And we certainly cannot just metabolize and integrate almost $750,000. And there is no other extraordinary fund or revenue that's on the horizon for us. Nothing. The 6370 SAT, that was in place for more than a decade. That just changed the first time this year, and they didn't even fully fund it. And it's supposed to change again next year. That's what's on the governor's desk, but we don't know how they're going to fund it yet, right? AV is not jumping leaps and bounds forward. Those are our two major, our local assessment taxes and our SAT. Neither one of them are moving. The only one that we can manipulate is our local taxes, our local property and real estate taxes. We will be on the hook because that legislation is already through, whether we adjust that operating levy or not. We have spent as much as we can on salaries and benefits while maintaining a balanced budget. Everything here, every increase here, we go backwards. We run a steady deficit budget that we will not be able to pull out of. Super fun.
Okay.
All right.
Discussion items. Elementary handbook.
Good evening. I have just a few changes to go over with you. I changed quite a bit last year when we were reviewing this, so I don't have a whole lot to change this year, besides staff updates and things like that. But there are a few items that I just want to point out to you that are moderate to some bigger changes. The after-school dismissal procedures, I just changed that to reflect the new transportation policy. So that's the change you're gonna see in there with regards to stipulations for alternate routes and things like that that we talked about in December and January in our board meetings. So all that changed there is just making sure it matched up with the new board policy. We also, Aaron and I worked together to create procedures for cell phones, and it was pretty vague in my handbook before, so we just worked together to create procedures that were pretty laid out so that families could see it. So she'll talk a little bit more about that when she presents her handbook, but they will read the same at the elementary level as the middle school and high school level. The next thing you're going to see is we needed to add an ELL, just that policy language that we need in our handbooks that we didn't have in there before. So we just added that little section and just gave families what they may need if they need ELL services. So that's going to be your English language learners. And then the last thing that you'll see that's a pretty big change was just we had in our handbook kind of what happens for each specific behavior or discipline that we might face. But Aaron and I also worked together to create a persistent misconduct kind of procedures and steps. It talks a little bit about processes and interventions that we're gonna use when we're seeing that persistent misconduct, whether it be the same thing reoccurring or just office referrals for multiple different things from the same student. It also just kind of outlines consequences and that they may need to have a disciplinary hearing if that persistent misconduct continues. So we just wanted to kind of outline that a little bit based on the data we have for our buildings right now, showing the need for that. We're seeing quite a few students pretty regularly, so we felt like we needed to put something in place, but also let parents know what we're gonna do to help those kiddos be successful in the classroom in our buildings so that we can keep them in schools. And then the last thing is Eric added some information for Google just to kind of let parents know what we use Google for and make sure we have their consent for their kids to use the Google Suites. Were there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the explanation. 8.2 athletics handbook.
I actually didn't make any changes to our handbook this year. We made a lot of adjustments last year. But this year, I think because of this, I know, because a lot of those changes that we made last summer, we didn't have a lot of the issues or any of the circumstances that we had to address. The only thing that I left a note for the next person was just, I think the flow, could be adjusted a little bit, but I mean, I think it's pretty comprehensive and addresses everything, so I didn't make any changes this year. Any questions?
Thank you for drafting this.
Of course.
All right. Middle school handbook.
And I put both the middle school and the high school all in one because a lot of the changes that are made at the middle school level are made at the high school level also, so we'll do both of them all at the same time.
Okay.
So for both handbooks, with our nurse, it wasn't matching what the elementary had before. If students were sent home by the nurse, it was they needed to go see a doctor, something along those lines. If a student is sent home by the nurse at the high school or middle school level due to a stomach issue or fever, those kind of things, it will be an automatic verified absence in our system. Now, we do have students that like to text their parents and say, hey, I don't feel good, I'm going home. If they're sent home that way, that is not a verified absence. So they have to be sent home by the nurse to be verified. And I know that verified and unverified can be tricky to understand at the high school and middle school level. So we wanted to make sure that was lined out in there. Something that I also, it's one of those things, sometimes you read things and it doesn't pop up until you read it again. With our honor roll, students, to be on the B honor roll, they had to have a B+ average. That means a student could have all B's on their report card and they couldn't be on the B honor roll. And whenever I read that, I'm like, that's not okay. We want to try to make sure and honor as many of our students who are doing a great job as they can. So we've adjusted that in our honor roll to make sure that students who are getting even all B minuses, they're going to be honored on that B honor roll. So that was just a change, just to be able to honor more of our kids, and we should. With our vaping, our e-cigarettes, and our tobacco, we're going to start working with the OC AdCat here in town. They actually have a program that can come into school. So if a student's caught with a vape or something on campus, they usually get OSS. We'd like to start doing more ISS first, but having them work with that OC AdCat program to try to do some education on those pieces so that hopefully down the road, we can help them out so that maybe they'll stop doing it along the lines. So we're gonna change those pieces, and the ladies at OC AdCat are so willing to come in and work with those students while they're in ISS. So we're really excited about that piece. And then Cammie already talked about the persistent misconduct. That just reads exactly the same as the elementary. We're gonna put it both in the middle school and high school. Cell phones is gonna be something that is tricky this next school year. There is a bill sitting on Governor Kehoe's desk right now. It's already been approved in both the House and the Senate, that the state of Missouri is creating a law that cell phones are not allowed in school. Not during passing time, not during class time, not during lunchtime. So from the beginning of the school day to the end of the school day, cell phones cannot be out, period, end of story. And that's coming from the state level. So what we're doing is we're taking that state law and we're making sure that we're following it here on campus. So we've already done that at the middle school. So the middle school already had that policy in place from beginning to end of the school day. We're now gonna be doing that with the high school as well. So during passing time, during lunchtime, cell phones, smartwatches, AirPods, all those things have to be put away. So we will be, that's gonna be definitely a change for them. Again, I know a lot of them are like, well, what if I need to call home? They can come to the office and use their cell phone if they need to, just come up and say, hey Alice, hey Carolyn, I need to call home. Not a problem whatsoever, but just come up to the office and do that. And it's amazing, these kids don't think that we have landline. Like, you can come and use our phone anytime you want to. They're like, well, how am I gonna call home? It's this thing with the cord here. You can use it anytime you want. So that is gonna be, I know, a learning curve, but I know some other schools that have already done it. The first few weeks was a challenge. Once kids got into the routine, it was okay. So that's gonna definitely be a change that you're gonna see. That's gonna be a challenge for especially our high schoolers next school year. So with the high school, we just tried to shore up a little bit of our dual credit requirements in there. We wanted to make sure that students know, and we're gonna kind of create a form before they take their dual credit classes, because some students were confused with what grade they would get if they're doing a dual credit class from a college, and what grade they would get here on their transcript. And the policy that they have had that just wasn't, it's kind of gray in here, so we just wanted to make it clear that whatever grade they get at the college or university for that class is what they get on their transcript, no matter what. But we also made sure in here that they are aware that when they can drop that course and still sign up for a course here on campus. So say like the first couple weeks of their course, they're like, oh my gosh, this college course is not going to do well for me, I'm struggling already. They can transfer back in and no issues whatsoever. So we wanted to make sure we had that in there. We also found that there was a correspondence credit in there that didn't match board policy and different things, so I made sure and took that out of there. It was more correspondence as in, it sounded a lot like, a long time ago you could do like the written in, the mail order correspondence type things. So we just took that out to make sure that it was matching everything else, and we made sure and had the Missouri K-12 virtual. So pretty much I made our handbook match the school board policy is what it is. Then for credit recovery, we wanted to make sure that we, again, made everything clear in there that's for credit recovery and launch courses during the summer especially. The courses that the school district pays for are credit recovery courses. If students would like to take courses to get ahead, because some do, they want to graduate earlier, different things, they can take those courses over the summer, but they are going to have to pay for them themselves. The school district does not pay if you're trying to get ahead, if that makes sense. And then we added a overnight trip guidelines. It's just something that's never been in our handbook, and we wanted to make sure that everybody knows the stipulations if you're going on an overnight trip. So those were the big things that we added. Any questions? All right.
Thank you. Now, are there changes to the middle school, high school faculty handbook?
We did not change anything, no.
Okay, no changes. Okay. Title I program evaluation.
So typically, Title I program, our Title I teachers would present on that program. They weren't available this evening. We are participating and meeting all requirements as set forth by federal law, including meeting all the needs of every student that's been identified as needing those supports. We're absolutely in line and anticipate qualifying for that funding next year and running the same model.
Melanie, Brant, and Beth Bloom have also done a really nice job of working with the new RSP guidelines, and they put in a lot of hard work and dedication into our students. So I just want to say thank you to them because it's been a lot of work, but they're rocking it. So.
Good. A-plus program evaluation.
So we also do this each year annually. A few things, I mean, we do some things well here, but when you look at the number of graduates that qualify for A-plus in our district, it's actually extremely impressive. 3 out of 4, and at times there may have been, I would say in the last 10 years, maybe you can help me out with this, Brett, maybe only 1 or 2 kids out of a class of 50 or 55 have probably been the best we've ever done, but
It's really high.
it's really high. We do an amazing job. I'll tell you also, we had a lot of our freshmen and underclassmen here on campus through summer school helping and accruing those A-plus hours. I think that's a very effective portion of our A-plus program, and also contributes a great deal to our summer school environment. So shout out to those kids. They work for it while they're here in summer school. And we anticipate continuing that program as we have, and doing as well as we ever have.
How does that compare to other school districts that are like similar sized school districts?
We're well ahead of the curve.
I don't know numbers, but I know that Bell was half, it was like, it was really low. I was shocked how low it was.
Wow.
It's been a while since I looked,
Why wouldn't
but
you?
Lynn's at the top of the game.
We were way up there. It's impressive when they're all standing. How many is actually standing?
It was actually maybe 5 years ago that I looked at those numbers, even before I was here, and wondered, because like something ridiculous, like 87 or 97% qualified for A-plus that year, which is absolutely unheard of.
That's great. No, I think that's a really good program. And I really like, I think maybe an unintended consequence, or like a consequence of the program that has happened. I really enjoy that the upperclassmen get opportunities, the high schoolers get opportunities to work with the elementary school. Like the other day at the little kids track meet that the track program had, there were several high schoolers helping out with it. It's good for the little kids, but it's good for the high schoolers too.
A-plus also, I know that Columbia College used to give $1,000, even though it was not part, they just gave that as somebody who completed the program and came to their school, they'd give you $1,000, kind of like an extra.
It's good.
We worked very hard to get qualified to do that, and that originally started 30-plus years ago.
Okay, first reading policy 6180.
Just going through tiered monitoring, ran across this. We're about 2 sentences from having a compliant policy. So I included it in the report in the 3rd paragraph after language, minority and limited English proficiency definitions. You'll see the addition of the sentence, such students will be assessed upon enrollment and will be assessed annually thereafter. That is a new requirement. And the elimination in 2 paragraphs later of the if they feel their child may be in need of such services. Once a student has been identified, they will be assessed by us as a school district. So they eliminated that option. And so we'll need to eventually adopt this if you guys are in agreement, so that we meet compliance and we can clear tiered monitoring.
Probably good to be in compliance. Moving on to action items. So 9.1, amend 2024-2025 budget to actuals.
Common budget action happens across the state of Missouri and across other districts. In order to meet the requirements set forth in the audit, by amending to actuals, it says that we meant to spend the money that we did in the way that we spent the money. That clears the way for any deviation from our budget as presented and the decisions we've made along the way. For instance, you know, if we had to call out, and we did, how much we were gonna pay to Daikin, we would have been wrong. But we did have to pay to do that by amending to actuals. That meant that we know that we did that, and we intended to do that, granted, after it broke. But it's really an audit type action that's very common to school districts.
Okay. Do I have a motion to amend the 2024-2025 budget to actual figures? discussion or questions? I appreciate the information in the summary sheet, so this is helpful. No discussion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Approve 2025-2026 budget.
Probably the most significant thing from the summary and the report that you see there is the fact that we have we've hit equilibrium with our budget. About 80%, 75–80% of our entire annual budget goes to salaries and benefits. There's not really comparatively any other expense that is as weighty an encumbrance as that. We've maximized, without, say, a reduction to staff or a reduction to programming, we've maximized what we can do with our current budget, and it'll stay level. There is no, I can't say this enough, there is no miracle revenue on the horizon for us that will get us to 40,000. If the teacher-based salary grant goes away, we'll have to make some tough decisions in the future. We could cut ancillary. Let's just say we cut the other 20% by 20%. That is only a 4% reduction to overall budget. Does that make sense? So if 80% goes to salaries and benefits, we have 20% remaining. If we reduced that 20% by 20%, so we just cut all budgets across the board by 20%, that would only make a 4% difference in our budget. The only significant thing that has an impact in our budget is really salaries and benefits. And those happen in mass. We're not spending a lot on anything this next year. Our big expenditures are, we are taking on Career Ladder. That'll be about 90 to 100,000. We're about 1.3 fund balance points. I agree 100% with Brad on this one. I think that's the smart thing to do in this environment, and I think that is well spent money. Everything else is staying relatively the same. I conservatively estimated on the state adequacy target at 7,000. We did have a lot of increased expenses across the board that I listed out there for you, about 30% to our insurance, meaning our liability insurance. That was a big expenditure. Moving our contribution as an employer up about $11. Not a huge, it costs about $30,000. Still a lot of money, but is a smaller impact to teachers individually. We've remained consistent with pay and stipends. We are not increasing staff or staffing levels at all. Considering what construction projects we have going on, we're going to do very little with Fund 4. We have accommodated utility increases across the board. You name it. If they're a service provider, they've bumped 3 to 8%. Electricity, water, transportation, garbage. We do have the CT enhancement grant. That's about $15,000 or 2/10 of a fund balance point. We receive about $55,000 in equipment for that. I think that's money well spent. I think we should take advantage of that. We could have another $38,000 come in, which is about 0.56 of a fund balance point. That would bump our ending fund balance for next year. I've also conservatively, I don't know about the rest of you, but if you lived in Osage County, I think you probably got the same letter that I did that explained that our property value, taxes went up. Mine went up a little over 5.1%. Hancock Amendment limits that to 5%. I think I texted Mark and Sean and said I've never been so happy that my taxes went up my entire life. I only planned for 2%. Leaving the rest level, but residential going up 2%. There's $70,000 to $100,000 of meat I left on the bone, but I don't know what's going to come out of appropriate. I don't know what's going to make it past Governor Kehoe's desk. So I tried to conservatively estimate the SAT at 7,000, conservatively estimate our assessed valuation at 2%. I hope I'm wrong, and instead of ending at about just a little under 31 next year, we'll probably end about at 32, about where we're at right now. I just don't want to count those chickens too early. And so I just want us to be in a good position. If we're wrong, I want it to be better than we thought that it was. Again, I cannot express this enough. This budget, along with every other district in Missouri, is a prediction. I don't have assessed valuation, I don't have a state budget. I'll be going through the federal budget process allocation in the next month. As a matter of fact, I have one of our biggest ones just opened yesterday, so I'll be going through that. I anticipate that federal side being level. What's there is gonna stay there. We didn't really participate in any of the things that are on the chopping block so far at the state level. Titles 1, 2, and 4, we participate in, they're gonna stay level. ESEA consolidated, we participate in. They're likely to stay level, 611 and 619. And then career and tech, if there's anything at the federal and state level that I'm positive that they support and endorse, it's career and technical education. So I don't think they're gonna cut that either. With that being said, we're conservatively looking at an ending fund balance of 30.64. And to give you an idea, if we just get the small schools, rural schools grant, that'll bump up to about 34.18. If we get half of the AV, if I'm just half as conservative, we'll bump up another full point there and could end up a little over 33. But again, 1% is not money we should fling into the wind. We're gonna have a 3% increase in 26-27, bumping our minimum base salary to $41,200. We need to start preparing for not having another revenue resource now. I'll continue. I haven't loaded it up yet or dropped it, but I have another finance video that I'm gonna put out that addresses two things. Sports gambling money to districts, that's not gonna help us at all. They estimate 300 million. The cut to districts would be 10 million. Of that 10 million, 1 million is appropriated for administrative costs and 5 million are appropriated to a fund. I'm gonna botch this, but I think it's something to do with addiction to gambling or something like that, the goodwill. So what's left, if they only divided that among public schools, 540 districts, we could get 44,000 if they gave us the same amount that they gave St. Louis. But St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, Joplin, they have more kids in their schools than all the rest of the state combined. We're not gonna get an even share. That's only if they gave an even amount to every school. If they portion it on the school size or something like that, I doubt we'd even get 10,000 bucks. That's only if they give it to public schools. The legislation says Missouri schools. That means any state school, any charter school, you name it. So if we got 10 grand a year for that, I'd be so surprised it wasn't funny. So there is no savior there. I think we have the lowest tuition rate around. We've done that intentionally. As I'm looking at that, our average home value in Osage County is $238,500. I'm rounding a bit. School taxes for that home is $1,400, a little over, I think it's like $1,480 some odd dollars. So, and that's for any number of children that would live in that home. Our tuition rate is still low, granted, at $2,000, but our average tuition kid actually pays more per student than our average resident does, if that makes sense. Plus they add $500 per student. If we were to change it to say 10,000, number one, our tuition students would plummet because it just wouldn't be worth it to them. And when you look at the actual costs for us to go, say, from an average class size of 17 to 18, we don't have to hire anybody new for that. We definitely don't spend that in paper clips and electricity for their Chromebook. It's at best a wash. So I'll address some of those numbers in the next video so that people understand that that's not the detriment. Even if they all paid $10,000 a piece, that would be about 2 fund balance points and wouldn't remotely get us close to solving any of our salary problems. But I'll drop that probably here in the next few days. Honestly, I wanted to get past this meeting. But I think we're in a good solid. We've just hit an equilibrium. We're doing about as much with our money as we possibly can. Is there anything you guys would like me to speak to specifically?
Is our federal money, is that about, are we still like around 8-9% or something like that?
It's actually about 6%.
6%?
Yeah, yes, sir. We don't get a ton of federal money. In that tab I'm sorry, in that tab where you got the 28 pages, if you go down, in the bottom of each little colored bracket, it'll tell you what % of the budget those things are. And I believe it's just
I'll show you.
highlighted in that
Yeah,
tab.
I'll check that out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other?
All that fun news.
Huh?
All that fun news.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Any other questions, discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 budget?
Make a motion, we approve the 2025-2026 budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Transfer from Fund 1 to Fund 2.
This can be a difficult one for people to understand. Fund 1 is general fund. Fund 2 is restricted fund. Some people refer to that as teacher fund. The reason they call it restricted fund is any money that goes to it can never be used for anything other than certified teacher salaries. So most school districts run that at a minimum balance, and sometimes it goes negative, so that they can keep as many unrestricted dollars as possible. And it's very common practice at the end of the year to just zero that out. We do that each year. And so we just need your permission to zero that transfer to Fund 2. Doesn't change our ending fund balance, because our fund balance is Fund 1 plus Fund 2 divided by our operating budget. So whichever pile it's in makes no difference.
Do I have a motion to transfer from Fund 1 to Fund 2?
I make a motion, we transfer from Fund 1 to Fund 2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Transportation contract.
So after speaking with Joe Nooner, we do have on average about a 6% increase to transportation costs. Those are outlined in the contract that I gave you a copy of. Our 9 bus routes at $45,065 each. We had some increases to trip mileage and non-route expenses, including driver fee per hour of $4.07, which is a pretty significant increase. Joe is struggling the same as everyone else is. You got to keep your pay as high as you possibly can in order to keep drivers in seats. I completely understand that. I hate that the cost is passed along to us. With that being said, I think 6% is pretty typical per my discussions with other superintendents and contractors, and reasonable considering our current economic climate.
So I assume that these increases are along the lines of our contract with him allows for these adjustments?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the amended transportation contract?
I make a motion, we approve the amended transportation contract.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Superintendent to pay July transfer and payment of bills.
Should you choose to skip July's meeting, I will still send you all the same information you get in a meeting month. But should you choose to do that, then I will need, we really should have had this in a little bit different order. So you're essentially approving, you're voting to do 2 things. For me to do the transfer of payment of bills in July, and also to forgo the July meeting.
Okay.
So this is 10.1 and 9.5 put together.
10.1 is just an announcement. We've got in there to have both meeting dates, for those of you who can't see it, just so that if you should choose to pass 9.5, that'll be readily available to read at the end.
Are there any other items that you foresee us needing to do in July that?
Sign checks and approve payment of transfer and bills 9.7 and 9.8, along with, a couple of the other program evaluations were things that we typically do in July. The only thing from July that we can't be done now is summer school report, so we can do that in August, the month after that.
What about if there's a higher?
There we go.
If there's a higher, then I'll call a special meeting and we can meet specifically for that purpose. Good call.
Okay.
Before the school starts.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent to pay July's transfer payment bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent to pay the July transfer payment bills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So we'll get all that information then still?
Saying, we'll still send it out to you.
Sounds
Yep.
good.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. I think that is a good idea. We're doing most of those things this month anyway, so. Meal prices for the next school year.
They can stay the same.
Under what, let them know under what
We had a,
conditions they can stay the same.
We had a positive balance as of June 30th, 2024, so according to DESI, we don't have to raise our prices. I'll have to get complete a waiver. So,
So good news for our patrons, they won't have to pay any more for lunch. We're still running a positive balance on that. Honestly, our sales were really good this year, went up over last year again. When you raise prices, if for any reason your school nutrition program loses money, then the thought is that that would be that schools will compensate for that loss using the reimbursement from federally subsidized meals. So if you're running a positive balance, then that means your meal prices are adjusted appropriately, not to lean on the reimbursement. And so when that happens, when you break even or you actually bring more in than you put out, then you don't have to adjust meal prices. And you can just wade through the system.
I just want to say we really appreciate you. I appreciate you at my house. I've not heard a complaint.
Good.
And I cannot even say when since you've been here, so I appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Yes. Keep up the good work. It was much appreciated.
I enjoy the kids.
That's great. Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 meal prices?
I'll make a motion to approve the meal prices for 2025-2026.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Okay, AMI plan.
Needs to be reviewed annually. It's the same plan we've had for the last several years that includes a combination of online, synchronous, asynchronous packets, and email communication and tutoring hours with teachers. Pretty straightforward. We need to approve that annually so that we can remain in compliance.
Is there any questions or discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the AMI plan?
Make a motion to approve the AMI plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the AMI plan, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of date and time for tax rate hearing.
This is one of those items that we also typically do in July. What we've done in the past is set it for the same time as our regularly scheduled board meeting at 6:30 p.m. with our regularly scheduled board meeting immediately following. That's what we've done for the last 3 years in every case. In August, and that August meeting will be August 21st.
motion to approve the tax rate hearing on August 21st.
I'll make a motion to approve the date and time for the tax rate hearing as of August 21st, 2025 at 6:30.
Second.
Got a second? Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Announcements? Anything else? Okay. Our next meeting then will be August 21st, 2025. We need to take a vote on that?
No.
No? Okay. Do I have,
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Oh,
You wanna read it?
No.
Oh.
We had to make a motion and then you.
you need to include the 2 arrow items.
Yeah. I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant to RSMO 610.021 ASDs, subsections relative to personal identifiable employment information and personal action.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Brad?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Naomi?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Sorry. That's it? I'm a yes.